Hello guys, so today our lesson covers linear equations with variables on both sides. So it's just a fancy way of saying that there's going to be a number and letter attached to it on one side of the equation, like the left side, and another one on the right side. So if you look at our question here at the very top, I have just an example of what steps you need to take and what work you can do to try and solve these problems. So the first part of the equation is up here at the very top. So this is what they give you in your exercise. You just have to solve for h. So it's 17 plus 4h plus 2 equals 1 minus 5h. So again, it looks very complicated. There's 3 numbers and letters on this side, and then there's 2 numbers and letters on this side. We have positives, we have negatives. So again, it looks very complicated, but it's a little bit simpler than it looks. So let's go to our first step over here that I've written down. So step 1 is I'm going to look at my equation and see if I need to combine any like terms. So like terms means that the numbers go with numbers. So this 17, I drew this blue line to connect it to this other 2 that's right here, because these are like terms. Remember, a 7th grader would be in a class with another 7th grader. An 8th grader would be in another class with 8th graders, so you can't mix them. So the 17 goes with the 2 only. It doesn't go with a number that has a letter attached. That has to be separate. Now on this side over here on the right side of the equation, again, we have one regular number and then one number with a letter attached to it, so we can't combine those either. These are the only 2 like terms that we can combine in this first step, the 17 and the 2. Okay, so now that we have that covered, I rewrite my equation. So I didn't do much change to it. I just rewrote it in a different way so it's easier for me to look at. So now I have 17 plus 2 to start off with, plus 4h equals 1 minus 5h. So the only thing that happened was these two, 4h and then plus 2, they just switch sides because I know I'm going to have to combine these like terms first. So when I add 17 plus 2, I get 19. I have plus 4h and that's it, so I just move it down. It stays plus 4h. The equal sign, again, just moves down. The 1 moves down, and then the negative 5h moves down. So this is my 19 plus 4h equals 1 minus 5h. That's what happened after I just combined those 2 like terms, the 17 and the 2. So again, it looks like a lot of work, but I really only added just those 2. I'm just rewriting it so you can see step by step what's going on. Okay, now step 2, I have to move the variables and the numbers all to one side. So that means I need all the numbers on one side and all the variables on one side. So the 19 that's on this side, I'm going to say, okay, I need to move this to the other side to be with the 1. And so I highlight it in yellow because I know, okay, I'm going to have to do the opposite so I can move it to the other side. So instead of regular positive 19, now I have to subtract 19. So that way those cancel. Now when I move it over here, I have 1 that's a positive 1 and then minus 19. So I'm going to get a certain answer down here, but this is what I need to have happen. Since I moved it over, it has to be the opposite sign. So now it's 1 minus 19. Now if I look over here at the negative 5h, I have to move the variables all to one side too. So I can't just have these numbers on one side. I have to move all the variables with the letter h's to this side. So instead of a negative 5h, what's the opposite? Positive 5h. So this green highlighted area means that these are going to cancel. And so then I have plus 4h and plus 5h on the left-hand side. So plus 4h and plus 5h gives me 9h. 1 minus 19 gives me negative 18. So now my new equation is 9h equals negative 18. That's what I got after moving the variables all to one side and moving the numbers all to one side in step 2. Now in step 3, I have to isolate the variable. Now what does isolate mean? Isolate means, and I have it written in this rainbow font over here, that isolate means to get the letter by itself. So I don't want any numbers attached to it. So the 9 that's attached to the 8, I don't want it there anymore. I need h by itself. Or if it's an x or an a or a letter b, whatever the letter is, I need it by itself. So I have to do the opposite to get rid of it. So instead of 9 multiplied by h, in order to get rid of it and move it to the other side, I have to divide by 9. The negative 18 that was on the other side, whatever I do to this side, I have to do to the right side also. So negative 18 then becomes divided by 9 also. So 9 and 9 with this purple highlighter, I say, okay, those are going to cancel. I'm only left with h by itself. Now the negative 18 divided by 9, again, if you can't do this in your head, then you can always, again, set up a little division where it's, okay, how many times does 9 go into 18? And I can say, okay, 9 goes into 1 0 times, and then 9 goes into 18 2 times. And I would say, okay, 9 times 2 is 18. That means that I'm going to have a remainder of 0. So, negative 18 divided by 9 is negative 2 divided by 1. This is a rule that we know that if it's a negative divided by a positive, the answer is going to stay negative. And anything divided by 1 just becomes that same number. So when we look at our final answer over here, we know it's going to be h is equal to negative 2. And that's how we solve an equation with variables on both sides. Now, if you want to check your answer, let's say, okay, that was a lot of work, Mr. Aguilar. I don't know if I got the right answer. I don't want to do all this work just to be wrong at the end. You can plug this number, the negative 2, back into the original equation. Wherever there's an h, say, okay, let me put a negative 2 there. Let me put a negative 2 there. And see if the answer comes out equal to each other. If the left side is equal to a certain number, and then the right side is equal to that same number. If you can come up with that same answer and it works, and this side is equal to that side, then you know you've done the work correctly, and right here the work would be correct that h is equal to negative 2. So again, if you need any help, I'll be available with Ms. Carrion later in the day, or you can send me a message anytime. I'll try and get back to you as fast as I can. But again, this is a new lesson that we're starting. It's just one extra step from what we were doing last week. So don't get scared. Don't think it's too complicated. Just try your best. And again, I'm here if you need any help.